Oh Chung-song is one of the rare individuals who have managed to defect from North Korea by crossing the heavily fortified joint security area in the demilitarized zone separating the two Koreas. His daring escape took place on November 12, 2017. That day, he drove a vehicle at high speed toward the military demarcation line that divides North and South Korea. However, before he could cross, he crashed. With no other choice, he abandoned the car and sprinted across the border while North Korean soldiers opened fire on him. He managed to make it across but collapsed just a few meters into South Korean territory, severely wounded. South Korean troops quickly intervened, airlifting him to a Jeju University Hospital in Suwon. His injuries were critical. He had lost a significant amount of blood due to multiple gunshot wounds, requiring emergency surgery to save his life. The incident caused a major scandal, as North Korean soldiers had violated the armistice agreement by firing across the demarcation line into South Korea. In response, North Korea took drastic measures to prevent future escapes, digging a trench where Oh's vehicle had crashed and installing a fortified gate along the road to Panmunjom. Oh Chung-song's escape is just one example of the extreme risks North Koreans are willing to take to flee their homeland. Under a regime notorious for its authoritarian rule and human rights abuses, those who attempt to defect often face unimaginable dangers. Today, I will share the stories of several individuals who risked everything to escape North Korea. These stories will stay with you long after you've heard them. Number 1. Yeonmi Park. In 2007, at just 13 years old, Yeonmi Park made a desperate escape from North Korea, crossing the partially frozen Yalu River to enter China. However, her journey to freedom was far from over. Once in China, she endured a nightmare of exploitation, falling into the hands of human traffickers who forced her into a life of abuse. She also witnessed her mother being sold into a forced marriage with a Chinese farmer. Determined to seek true freedom, Park later crossed the Gobi Desert to reach Mongolia, where she sought asylum. Eventually, she found safety in South Korea. Today, at 28 years old, she lives in the United States, married to an American citizen, and has dedicated her life to raising awareness about the brutal realities of North Korea. Her outspoken activism has made her a target of the North Korean government, which now considers her a traitor. According to Park, the level of indoctrination in North Korea is so extreme that questioning the regime is unthinkable. Expressing discontent isn't just dangerous for the individual, it puts their entire family at risk. Born in the city of Hisan, close to the Chinese border, Park grew up in a family that struggled under an oppressive system. Her father, who engaged in smuggling Chinese goods, was arrested and sent to a forced labor camp. In 2007, her older sister managed to escape to China with the help of a smuggler. Determined to reunite with her, Yeonmi and her mother followed, crossing the border in secret. However, what should have been a reunion turned into a grueling ordeal. They were soon trapped in a vast human trafficking network, forced to endure months of unimaginable suffering before they could continue their journey toward freedom. Number 2. Song Byuk. In North Korea, propaganda is a powerful tool used to control the population. For 24-year-old Song Byuk, this became his reality when he was selected to serve as an official state propaganda artist. His role was to create imagery that glorified the country's leaders and reinforced government ideology. For years, he worked on government-commissioned projects until a devastating famine struck North Korea following the death of Kim Il-sung. The food crisis pushed him and his father to make the dangerous decision to flee to China in search of food. Their escape attempt turned tragic. As they tried to cross the Tumen River in 2000, Song's father drowned. The two were tied together with a rope, but the current was too strong. Song pleaded for help from North Korean border guards, but they refused to intervene, letting his father be carried away by the river. After being caught, Song was imprisoned for 4 months and subjected to torture as punishment for his failed defection. Once released, he began planning his escape again, this time determined to take with him the only reminders of his family: photographs. In 2001, he managed to escape North Korea, and in 2004, he held a memorial service by the river where his father had drowned. Now living in South Korea, Song has dedicated himself to creating satirical artwork that challenges the very propaganda he once helped produce. His most famous piece reimagines Kim Jong-il's face on the body of Marilyn Monroe, a bold satire of the North Korean regime. Song is certain that the regime is aware of his work, and he hopes that one day his art will inspire change in his homeland. Number 3. Lee Min-bok. Lee Minbok was once a researcher at the North Korean Academy of Agricultural Sciences. In 1990, he attempted to escape the regime but failed. However, he finally succeeded in 1991, leaving behind everything he had ever known. By 1995, he had settled in South Korea, where he received his personal diaries from his family. These journals contained detailed accounts of North Korean history, which he intended to turn into a book. Born in 1958, Lee realized after his escape that his life's mission was to help those still trapped under the regime's oppressive rule. For many years, Lee actively fought against North Korea's leadership. Between 2003 and 2018, however, he was forced to halt his efforts due to an agreement between North and South Korea aimed at reducing hostilities. Prior to that, he had successfully launched more than 300 million balloons carrying anti-Kim Jong-un messages and information about the outside world, hoping to give North Koreans a glimpse of a better life beyond their borders. His activism put him in serious danger, and at one point, the North Korean government even sent an assassin to take him out. Fortunately, South Korean authorities apprehended the would-be killer before he could complete his mission. Lee's story is just one of many accounts of those who have risked everything to escape North Korea. But there are even more shocking cases. Stories of high-profile defectors, political figures, and athletes who sacrificed everything in search of freedom. Number 4. Ji Seong-ho. Originally from Hworyong, a city near the Chinese border, Ji Seong-ho faced unimaginable hardships from a young age. Now 38 years old, his journey to freedom was nothing short of extraordinary. As a child, he survived by stealing coal to trade for food. However, during one of these thefts, he fell while attempting to jump onto a moving train. The accident cost him both his left hand and one of his legs. In North Korea, there was no government support for people with disabilities. Those in his situation had to make their own crutches. For years, he relied on makeshift wooden crutches crafted by an acquaintance. Despite the pain and difficulty of moving around, he never lost hope of escaping. At 25 years old, he finally made it to South Korea, where he received proper medical care and new crutches from the government. Even so, he kept his old ones as a reminder of the kindness of those who helped him survive. His journey to freedom was anything but easy. After crossing the Tumen River into China, he barely avoided drowning. From there, he had to travel thousands of kilometers, moving through Laos and Thailand before finally reaching South Korea. When he arrived, he was stunned to learn that, unlike in North Korea, people with disabilities were treated with dignity and respect instead of being subjected to abuse. After receiving medical attention and a prosthetic leg, he was finally reunited with his brother, who had also managed to escape from North Korea. Number 5. Kim Cheol-woong. Unlike many defectors who fled due to famine, Kim Cheol-woong grew up in privilege. His father was a provincial governor and his mother was a university professor. Born into an elite North Korean family, his future seemed secure. From a young age, it was clear he had a remarkable musical talent. By the time he was 5 years old, he had already begun learning the piano. Later, from 1995 to 1999, he studied at a prestigious conservatory in Moscow. When he returned to North Korea, he was appointed principal pianist of the State Symphony Orchestra, a position of great prestige. But despite his privileged life, he felt suffocated by the regime's artistic restrictions. His passion for music clashed with the strict limitations imposed by the government. He longed for creative freedom, something impossible in North Korea. His defection was unusually smooth at first because he carried a citizenship card from Pyongyang, the capital where North Korea's elite reside. He had no trouble passing through checkpoints. He successfully crossed the Tumen River and encountered undercover soldiers, whom he bribed with $2,000 to help him reach a nearby village. There, he worked harvesting rice and cutting wood while figuring out his next move. He soon learned that South Korea offered asylum to defectors, so he attempted to leave China using a fake passport. However, immigration officials caught him at the Beijing airport, leading to his arrest. For the next 3 months, he was imprisoned in China before being placed on a train bound for North Korea. But fate was on his side. He managed to escape through a train window before reaching his destination. 2 months later, he was caught again, this time in Mongolia. He spent 6 months in a Mongolian prison before being deported to North Korea. Upon arrival, he was sent to a labor camp. Luck intervened once more when a prison investigator recognized him. This official helped him assume a false identity, allowing him to secure his release. Without hesitation, he fled across the Tumen River once again, obtained another fake passport, and finally reached South Korea in 2003. Number 6. Moon Kinam. Born in Cheongju, North Pyongan, Moon Kinam grew up with the burden of his father's past. His father had defected to the South during the Korean War, a fact that cast a shadow over Moon's life in North Korea. One of his main motivations for leaving was his desire to reunite with his father and uncles. Moon had a successful soccer career, playing for North Korea's national team between 1969 and 1979. He even represented his country at the 1974 Asian Games. Later, he transitioned into coaching, leading North Korea's under-20 team at the AFC Youth Championship in 1990. After working at the Gyeonggi Football Association office, Moon made the life-changing decision to escape in 2004. He fled with his wife and 4 children, making his way through China before reaching South Korea. Once safely settled, he resumed his career in soccer, taking a coaching position at the University of Ulsan. Number 7. Lee Kyung-hoi. A former rhythmic gymnast, Lee Kyung-hoi was born in 1971 in Pyongyang. She defected from North Korea and later became a gymnastics coach in South Korea. Her father was a respected educator who taught high-ranking officials at the Party High School. However, it was her mother who encouraged her to pursue gymnastics, against her father's wishes. He wanted her to prioritize academics, believing a sports career would limit her opportunities. At 11 years old, she began training in rhythmic gymnastics, eventually reaching an elite level. In 2007, she made the difficult decision to leave North Korea. After obtaining South Korean citizenship, she worked as a coach for the national rhythmic gymnastics team until 2017. Lee received significant media attention in South Korea after revealing that she had been sexually assaulted by a high-ranking member of the Korean Gymnastics Association. These stories highlight the dangers and sacrifices defectors face in pursuit of a better future. Their bravery shows the lengths people will go to for freedom and a new beginning. Before we continue, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to discover more incredible stories. Number 8. Dae Yong-ho. Once North Korea's deputy ambassador to the United Kingdom, Dae Yong-ho made headlines when he defected with his family in 2016. He became one of the highest-ranking North Korean officials to ever escape the regime. Since his defection, the South Korean government has provided him with constant security. Despite being fully aware of the risks, Dae has spoken openly about North Korea's authoritarianism, secrecy, and brutality. He acknowledges the threat to his life but remains committed to exposing and weakening Kim Jong-un's regime. He believes that one day the government will collapse due to a public uprising. He has even drawn comparisons between North Korea's dictatorship and historical events such as South African apartheid and Nazi Germany. In May 2018, he published his memoir, Cryptography, from the Third Floor Secretariat, which detailed his life as a North Korean diplomat. The book quickly became a bestseller in South Korea, selling 10,000 copies in just 4 days. 2 years later, he made history as the first North Korean defector elected to the South Korean National Assembly through a public vote. Number 9. Hwang Jong-yop. Before Dae Yong-ho, the highest-ranking North Korean defector was Hwang Jong-yop, a former politician who fled in 1997. Hwang played a crucial role in shaping North Korea's political ideology, helping to develop the Juche philosophy, the very foundation of the regime's governance. Born in Kangdong, he graduated from Pyongyang Commercial School in 1941 and joined the Workers' Party in 1946. During a trip to Tokyo in 1997, Hwang and his aide Kim Duk-hong made a bold move. Disguising themselves as South Korean diplomats, they used fake passports to enter the South Korean embassy in Beijing. Their defection sparked intense diplomatic tensions, but after weeks of negotiations, they were finally permitted to leave for South Korea via the Philippines. The repercussions of his escape were severe. Following the news, his wife took her own life in North Korea. One of his daughters also died under mysterious circumstances, reportedly falling from a truck. His remaining children and grandchildren were believed to have been sent to forced labor camps. Once in South Korea, Hwang became an outspoken critic of the North Korean regime. Over the years, he wrote more than 12 books condemning Kim Jong-un's leadership, accusing him of betraying Juche ideology and replacing socialism with a feudal dictatorship. Despite his high-profile defection, Hwang's time in South Korea was not without controversy. As the president of the Unification Policy Research Institute, he frequently criticized South Korean leadership for being too soft on North Korea. He was dismissed from his position in 2000, leading him to claim that the South Korean government was trying to silence him to avoid provoking Pyongyang. In 2010, he died of a heart attack. Authorities investigated his death but ruled out foul play. Number 10. Jo Song-gil. A former acting North Korean ambassador stationed in Italy, Jo Song-gil vanished with his wife in 2018, sparking speculation about their whereabouts. For 2 years, many believed they were secretly living somewhere in Europe. However, in 2020, it was confirmed that they had actually made it to South Korea. Jo's wife later petitioned the National Intelligence Service for permission to return to North Korea, citing fears for their teenage daughter and remaining family members. The NIS approved her request and publicly stated that the couple had voluntarily defected. To prevent diplomats from escaping, North Korean officials stationed abroad are often required to leave their families behind in Pyongyang as a form of leverage. Jo's defection was seen as a massive embarrassment for Kim Jong-un's government. Despite being under South Korean security protection, Jo remains at risk. Experts warn that North Korea could attempt to assassinate him, as it has done with defectors in the past. For instance, in 1982, Kim Jong-il's nephew, Il, defected and even altered his appearance through plastic surgery to avoid detection. However, 15 years later, he was still tracked down and assassinated in South Korea. The reality of life in North Korea is far more brutal than many can imagine. These defectors risked everything to escape, going against all odds for a chance at freedom. What are your thoughts on their stories? Which of these escape attempts surprised you the most? Share your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to spread the word about the bravery of these individuals. And if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more fascinating stories. The Mind Odyssey just began.